evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste and a very warm welcome to all of you to the Blub World Web Talks 261st episode. In the last 260 episodes, we have talked to, interacted with more than 5,000 school leaders on this very platform where they've shared their ideas, opinions, innovation, and what all new are they doing in the education space. So नमस्कार, आप सभी का स्वागत है Blub World Web Talks के 261वें एपिसोड में। पिछले 260 एपिसोड में हमने करीबन 5,000 से ज्यादा शिक्षाविदों से बातचीत की और उनसे जानने की कोशिश की कि वो शिक्षा को कैसे बदल रहे हैं और शिक्षा उन्हें कैसे बदल रही है. So today as well, in the next 30 to 40 minutes that you're here with us, we'll try to discuss another interesting topic. But the problem with today's topic is something very different. The perception of a law is far stronger than the actual law. It's exactly like reality, that the perception of reality is far stronger than reality itself. What we see in most of the democracies right now across the globe, in most of the countries, even if there are laws to protect people with absolutely no power, nobody wants those same people to know what that law is, because only then you can control them in a fashion that you desire, you decide, and you deem fit. Leadership has now, transformed itself into not just being leadership, but being some or the other way dictatorialship. We don't live in democracies anymore. We live in plutocracies. And when we live in a plutocracy, law changes its character. And when the law changes its character, people have to respond in some or the other way. What should that response be? Getting more aware, protesting, communicating, building a community, building a union. How does the community respond to law, and how it becomes critical for everyone to understand the law? Our fear of plutocracy leads to education of law. That's why this particular topic becomes very critical for any country, any school leader, any teacher, any student who might be joining this conversation. That what exactly are the teen rights and the laws around teenagers, either for them or to control them or to typically guide them through the process of their lives and being, conducive to the society. We all want to talk about this, but more critically, we want to talk about how much should a teenager really know about law. We can all see across countries that the civics curriculum is nearly vanishing. There is absolutely nothing that we talk to teenagers about their own countries, their own legislations. And by the time they get into a law degree, they have to be first introduced to their own legislation within their countries. So in such a scenario, I've painted quite a grim picture. So let's see what the educators today, the kind of colors you can fill in the whole conversation, the kind of colors that teenagers can bring into the conversation. It's a superbly interesting topic at a far more interesting moment in history that we are living right now. Through the 261st episode of the Blub World Web Talks, we're thankful to our supporters for today, BITS Law School. And most importantly, to start this conversation, let's bring in an expert who understands legislation, legal framework, laws, and most importantly, legal awareness among teenagers. A very warm welcome to the first speaker for today. But before I invite them, just some ground rules. First and foremost, the Blub World Web Talks is a timed platform. So think of it like a speaking sprint. It's kind of a 100-meter race rather than a marathon. So the speaking time is limited. Once your time is over, you might get muted. If you get muted, please don't get offended. It's just to keep the activity crisp and entertaining for everyone. To give you a heads up that your time is coming to an end, you have the final 30 seconds. Blub World will raise their hand. And if required, even I'll raise my hand. So please keep looking for that. That means you have the final 30 seconds to conclude. And the second point, it's a bilingual platform. So you can use English or Hindi, any of these two languages. Please don't use a third one. I might not get it. Because we all believe in a simple concept. Bhasha, gyan ka paimana nahi hota. Language is not the measure of your knowledge. Let the knowledge, let the idea flow. Don't care a lot about the language. We'll all try to demystify the language that you use. Thank you so much to all the amazing speakers today for joining us for this very episode. Let me invite the first speaker for today to tell us that what are the teen rights, the laws, and how much should we all be knowing. A very warm welcome to Mr. Deepu Krishna, the Head of Admissions and Outreach for BITS Law School from Mumbai, Maharashtra. Deepuji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Thank you. I'll be the first one to take a bullet off this timing, right? So everyone is going to see that how I am, and I'm wasting enough time also. So I'll straight away go into the topic. See, law, to teach law at school level, and you literally, pointed out the right thing by saying that civics as a curriculum is slowly getting vanished, and that's quite sad also. Because if you ask me, during my school time, that was one of those syllabus which really attracted me to understanding about how a country is governed, because I often used to wonder that how does a person get a power to govern a country or even a state. We all know that our parents govern the house, right? They are the ones who tell us that what is right and what is wrong. But then as I grew up, I started wondering who tells us what is right and what is wrong. What is the parameter of judging a conduct as right or wrong? Police, government, these were the things. And then when civics was introduced, I kind of had an idea. But then when I went to law school, I had that 5 year graduation. I studied the letter of law. I had a good idea about the philosophy, the great amount of legislative framework under which this is made. I understood that there is something called as constitution, which is much bigger than even the religion, and the gods in this country. That is the ultimate document. But then I started understanding that even people who are older than me have no idea about these things. So we'll be completing 50 years of imposition of emergency in our country. And you won't believe it, there are people who don't even have an idea about what that was. You know, why was emergency imposed? How many kinds of emergencies are there? Now, again, like you said, it is no parameter to gain a knowledge of a person, but at least it gives you an idea about being a citizen. We keep talking so much bad things about our country and what is happening. That's because we probably don't understand the framework in which we are living. And I remember when I was in law school, one of our faculty compared our constitution and Pakistani constitution, you know. And when he was doing it, the class was like, why are we even reading their constitution? But by the end of the class, we understood that why that entire exercise was important, because both these constitutions were made side by side, and how what principles they adopted and what principles we adopted is the reason why our constitution never collapsed. Well, you can keep saying that how many times martial law has been imposed in Pakistan, and then became, as in when I go for outreach, I have this habit of not talking about our campus, but then I go and ask students very basic questions. Like I ask them, what do you mean by right? What do you mean by right? What do you mean by duty? They give me a lot of questions. So right is one word where I pick it up and I ask them, what do you mean by right? So they give me different kinds of answers, and then I ask them, name one right which you have. So they come all guns blazing and they say right to education, right to life, blah blah blah. Then I tell them, name one right which you don't have. And then they go into a quiz and they're like, oh, which right, which right? And then they say we cannot kill anyone. I said, no, we can kill someone. That is called as right to self-defense. Then I tell them there is something called as right to die. You cannot die in our country. You're not born out of your choice. But then that simple spark which I leave in the kid compels him to go and read. That means the subject, the topic is not the problem. It is how you ignite into the mind of the kid that curiosity through which he goes and reads and tries to find out that, okay, this is right. These are the rights which I have. Oh, this is how I exercise it. Why should I vote, first of all? Many kids, as in I even ask kids that why should we vote? Many of them have no idea about even a manifesto, an election manifesto. So these are those basic things which should be taught, which a citizen should know if you want to make a better country. And it should not be taught in the format which we teach other subjects. It should be taught in a very practical manner. And at least those basics, if a person knows, believe me, the country would become something better. I am not blaming our country. Our country is one of the best, if you ask me, but then it's going to have more powerful citizens in that sense. Yeah, I see a hand raise and I'll just shut now.
Thank you so much, Deepu. So for this amazing start, and you're very right. Just talking about the definition of a right is where this discussion should really start. We have actually skipped a step by coming to this point where we say that how much should we be knowing? And you're very right when you mentioned a very critical aspect of a right, that we all might be able to easily figure out the kind of rights that we have. But it's very difficult for an individual with a limited exposure to figure out what are the rights that we don't have. The very simple thing that you talked about, the right to die, euthanasia, we don't have it, but Switzerland has. We say a lot about right to education, but can we really enforce it at some point? Can a teenager or a student who's at the using end of the right can really enforce it? What we have realized, we at the World Teen Parliament, we engage with teenagers from more than 35, 40 countries now. And what one very simple thing that we realized while we working with all of them, the only absolute right that a citizen has in most of the countries across the globe is only the right to vote. Everything else, all the other rights that are mentioned in any constitution anywhere on the face of this earth, can be contested in a court of law. But this cannot be. So you have to understand why is that so critical, because everything that you talk about, legislation, your life, your society, civics, anything and everything boils down to just that one simple activity of being a citizen and going out to vote. And thank you so much, Deepu sir, for this start, because it's a very critical point. What is it that you don't have? You can only understand this when you really go loud out and about and try to understand what's happening in other countries. What are the things we don't have? Because that's when you'll strive for them to happen in your own. Thank you so much. So let me now invite the next speaker for today to add a little more flavor to the conversation. Rather than going to an adult, let me go to a teenager and then come back to an adult. So there is a little bit of a spice in the conversation. So a very warm welcome to Miss Ayat Khanam, who's a grade 10 student from Indian School Al Gubra, Muscat, Oman. Ayat, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Good afternoon to everyone for tuning in from across the world. I am influencer Ayat Khanam, grade 10 from Indian School Al Gubra. So think about it. In today's world, we are expected to follow the law. No one is actually teaching us what it actually says. Fellow teens, we are taught how to solve equation, memorize battle dates, but if we ask a teen what their rights are or how to file an FIR, even better, what is their legal age of consent? And you will be met with silence. And this silence is not harmless when it ends up in the courtroom. And in 2023, the National Crime Records Bureau, it reported 32,000 juveniles being arrested in India. And do you know what's common amongst all of them? That none of them knew that they were even breaking the law. That is not defiance. That is lack of legal literacy. See, when we know the consequences of our actions, when we understand our legal limits, we don't just behave better, we think smarter. Legal literacy isn't supposed to be a luxury. It's a need, a shield, a superpower that we teens need. Because today's teens, we aren't just students. Now we are in a parliament. We are digital citizens. We are decision makers. And we are at the center of more situations than ever. Online, offline, legal and emotional. Not just punishments. That is not what's needed to make our country better. We need more legal literacy, at least basic legal education, because this is what builds our generation, not increase in policing. Ignorance fuels mistakes, but knowledge stops them. This change isn't for the next education reform, not for the next case that goes viral, but now our legal education is needed to build, because we are not too young. We're just often too underestimated, too dismissed. And it's time we stop treating legal literacy as an idea, because it's a need, it's a shield, it's our superpower. Because ignorance of the law isn't just risky, it's ruinous. Over to the host.
Super, Bayat. It is so lovely listening to you. I was too mesmerized to actually see the kind of thought process that you brought forth. And you're very right. We have been superbly fooled by constitutions across the world, because in their premise itself, they mention not knowing the law is not an excuse. But the problem is, nobody tells us what is the law. That's the simple paradox that every legal document or doctrine creates when a legislation or a constitution is written. You first tell that a citizen must be aware of the law, but there's nobody telling him or her the law. You're very right. Most of the teens that even get, into these legal situations never know that they broke a law. Most of them just don't know that what's the situation that they're in. And when we expect a teenager to be superbly amazing, efficient, and be able to safeguard themselves in a superbly connected internet world, we don't even want to tell them, what are the laws they should be taking care of. We just want to remove the civics chapters. We just want to remove that curriculum. So that gives them the information. And we just want to catch them off guard. We are trying to police people without educating them. That's what leads to a far worse ecosystem. Do we really want that when we look at education? Is the right question that we must be asking. Thank you so much, Ayat. This is a very important aspect that you brought forth for this discussion. Let me invite the next speaker for today. Let's now go back to an adult and bring their opinion back to the conversation. Let's talk to a school leader. What do they think? Because, if you tell a teenager in a school you have these many powers to change things in a school, it becomes risky environment to control. And that's the extrapolation that a country is. It's an extrapolation of a school or a community that you want to run, you want to govern, you want to rule, and you want it to function. Let me now invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mrs. Archana Srivastav, the principal of East Point School from Delhi, India. Archana, ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Thank you, Daksh. Thank you. And it is such a lovely discussion. And Ayat, I have to say that I am fully assured that the country, is in safe hands. And as Mr. Krishna said, just the people who are in the older age bracket, as I consider myself to be an adult of age, the ignorance towards law is much more than the young teenagers. And it's a very clear fact now. When I did my economics honors from Banaras Hindu University and I received gold medal, I thought that there is nothing that I can achieve more. But when I started my journey as an educator, I felt that the need for legal studies as a subject is not the need, it's the basic lifeline of any school or any institution. Because when we talk about discipline in the children, this is such a vague and a vast term. How will you discipline a child? How will you motivate a child? How will you encourage a child to do a particular thing? Because the laws today that are existent, the children themselves are not aware. But then the teenagers, the children of today are highly informed, highly aware, and they really know what exactly they want and where to go. It is we as educators need to provide them the right platform. And this is the scene wherein if today we see that in recently of late last year, maybe we have seen the case of, gun shooting in a school in one of the countries in US. Why did it happen? The boy was just a teenager. The driving cases that we see in our country itself, which happened in Pune. So, these type of things that are happening, it is definitely for sure that the children in the country, the students in the school are not being made aware about such type of laws or the aftermaths of what if they do not follow certain things, what will be the repercussion of such a thing. And it is so essential that the today's youth must be educated, must be told, must be taught about, the laws and various lifelines that the children have. We do not need to educate them, but then we really need to provide them the right direction, a platform wherein they are able to get the right information, because the world is today is flooded with information, right or wrong or good or bad. It is very difficult to filter out because everything seems correct, everything is wrong. Maybe it's right for me, maybe it's wrong for you. So the filtration has to be done at a certain level. And wo hoga kaise? How it will happen? Only when we as educators give them the right direction. And that's why legal study is one of the most promising subject in my school. So thank you, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Archana, ma'am. We have to take up this responsibility of teaching legislation, law, all of this to teenagers, because the system does not want us to. In most of the places, it does not, because that's there is an empirical evidence when the civics course typically goes off. What you talked about, a very critical point that must be taken ahead in this complete conversation, is that when we are really talking to a student and teaching them about legal education, legal awareness, this is not something that's a co-curricular activity. It's a life skill, and most importantly, it will hold importance in whichever industry, phase of life, wherever they are. It will be critical for them at every point of time. Most of the adults who are educated, who are amazing, academically superbly strong, even are not aware about law. And there's a very different reason for that. When superly dynamic people feel something is not working, their focus automatically shifts. So our ignorance is by choice, not by circumstances. And that choice is not something that we have voluntarily made. This has involuntarily been imbibed in us because we see things don't work the way they were said. Things are not working the way the book really tells us. And when we see that gray area, we lose a small little piece of our heart, our belief goes away, and it gets difficult to read anything that you think is a law, because we understand the bigotry around it. But I think if we make a far better future generation, this bigotry will have to go away automatically, because we'll build counterweight, we'll build counter pressure. So thank you so much, ma'am, by making it superbly important in your school as well. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Ms. Garvita Lalwani, the principal of Sai Siddhi Podar Learn School from Yeola, Maharashtra. Ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself, and a very warm welcome.
Yes, good evening, children. Myself being the principal, and as well said, Archana ma'am said that filtration is necessary, and for that, perspective is very necessary regarding who is right and who is wrong, right? But apart from this, as when to learn the legal literacy, actually it starts from your classrooms, right? Right? Instead, I should say it starts from home, because every environment is different. The nurturing of parents is different. Over here also, it goes with the perspective of how the one thinks, how the one finds an answer. Okay. But when you come in school where social science is being taught to you, especially now the CBSE has promoted the skill-based learning and the experiential learning through activities. I remembered, because myself, I'm a social science teacher. So especially civics has been my very learning subject. For most of my students, I've enjoyed a lot. So especially when we talk about for the law, procedures for the laws, children, if you have come across with these lessons and everything, I usually debate in the class. I give a form to the students to participate. And more or less, there are certain institutions also, for example, with IMOON, I should say, International Model United Nations. So these are the platforms where a school leader or a teacher enrolls you to participate you, and they give you certain tasks. Because if you are aware regarding what is happening in the world and you are current live with that, then only you are able to understand, to speak, and to perceive what is right and what is wrong. I'm not saying you are right or you are wrong, but you come across when you listen to the others. Opinion matters, where we say, right? So it's not only we have to talk and talk, it is we have to understand their perspective also. This is what your civics teaches you all. Got it? Opinion matters. So participation starts from your right, from your school, where I think so every leader provides you all an opportunity to participate in the school programs, or you can say the students council, especially where you participate yourself. This is the platform where you all are being given an open opportunity to express your views, your thoughts, your perceptiveness regarding your opinions being shared with the leaders, with the others. Mutually corporation start, because it's not only with listening, I said, it's a type of collaboration, implementation, right? Things happen as per that aspect. When you have that much of confidence enough and your things are being perceived by the others, then only you become a good leader. So Legal literacy, it starts from the school where you all are being given the opportunity. You should progress step by step and try the most to participate and to speak out. See, we also don't know what the Indian Constitution speaks about in many aspects, though we are the leaders. But it's a right fact that yes, whenever we have Googled something where we are in a situation, we have gained some knowledge. So it's your objective to proceed. Thanks, sir.
Thank you so much, Garvita, ma'am. A lot of schools, a lot of institutions at K-12 level give a lot of opportunities to teenagers like Model United Nations and many other platforms and many other forums. There's a very unique kind of a, black hole that has got, place in the ecosystem. Every teenager is superbly aware about geopolitics or the relationships between countries. And a very weird experience happened some time back at the World Teen Parliament, which typically embarrassed everyone on the call. We had the former Finance Minister of India, P. Chidambaram. We had his son on the call, who's currently a Lok Sabha MP, Karthi P. Chidambaram. We were talking about the same thing, that what kind of legal awareness do teenagers have about their own countries, their own ecosystems. On a call that had teens from more than 35 countries who fought elections, got votes, and finally got elected to the World Teen Parliament, they were asked a simple question by Karthi sir. And the question was, please name your city councillor, your member of legislative assembly, and your member of parliament. And 100% of the people on that call had no idea about this. And right now, under all our smirking faces, as adults, as teens, as audience on this call, we all know what would have been our own situation in a similar question. That's the problem. We have taught them the world, but made them ignore their own house. That's the problem. We have, enlarged the world for them so much that they think what affects us is not at all important. They have lost connect with what's happening around them and been super connected to a conversation that will never impact their lives in their own whole lives. So this is a gap that has to be addressed in some or the other way. Let's now go back to a teenager to bring in some more spice to the conversation. A very warm welcome to Mr. Ansh Gulati, who's a grade 11 student from Sun City School, 37D, Gurugram, Haryana, India. Ansh, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening and namaste everyone. My name is Ansh Gulati. I'm from Sun City School 37D, Haryana, Gurugram. And my topic for today is teens' rights and the law. So here's the truth. We're told to follow rules, but most of us don't even know what they are. We're expected to act responsibly, but no one teaches us what our rights actually are. Not at school, not even at home. And by the time we find out, it's usually because something's gone wrong or it's too late. Think about it. We learn trigonometry, but not how to spot a scam. We know ancient history and who ruled in 1592, but not how to report a cybercrime. We can recite the preamble, but if someone crosses a line online or worse in real life, we're stuck, confused, resorting to Google, searching, what do I do now? That's not on us. That's on the system. Legal literacy.
I think Ansh faced a technical challenge. No worries, Ansh. Till now, you are amazing. I hope you'll be amazing when we invite you back. Don't worry. I'll ask the team to reconnect with you so that your internet and everything is in place. In the meanwhile, let's go to the next speaker. Ansh talked about a very important topic, but I won't address it right now. Let him come back, complete his speech, and then we'll address him back. So, in the meanwhile, let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mrs. Ramneek Human, the principal of Air Force School from Chandigarh, Punjab. Ramneek, ma'am, over to you. You come from an institution that typically, sits between a very regulated kind of an institution, the Air Force, superbly disciplined. You also try to teach students that come from the same community. What are the challenges that you see in legal literacy? Do you see some legal awareness gaps within the institution? You have an access to some of the brightest minds as far as the Army or the Air Force is concerned. How do you utilize them? And what do you think are teenagers really legally aware? Over to you, ma'am, and a very warm welcome.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank for giving me this opportunity to speak on a topic which actually needs immediate attention. And in these days, teen rights are very important. And I am dealing with an institution which actually, is very concerned about such things. We are daily checking on these online scams, cyberbullying, and whatever the students are facing these days. So, in today's world, knowledge is actually not just about power, it's about protection. And legal knowledge is very, very important these days. Whether because the students today, they are living in a very complex society, they are growing up in a very complex society, and where they are actually dealing with complex things like peer pressure, social media. They are also facing big life choices. So it's very important that we deal with these situations in a very tactful manner, because students these days, they are very sensitive. So why legal literacy is important? Legal literacy, it is very important because it helps the students to choose what is right and what is wrong. They are in an age where they don't know that what is right for them and what is wrong, what is fair and what is not fair for them. So I think that we should teach this in our schools, and we can protect the students against cyberbullying, online scams, or even we can also help them to protect themselves from harassments, various types of harassments. But if we teach all these things to the students, students will become more responsible, because they are our future generation, and they are going to build our society. They are going to be the strong uh, members of our society. So it's very important to teach them all these things. And I believe students can do much. We can just not teach them a basic, like we are mostly the schools, what they do is they focus on science and maths or the other subjects, but we are forgetting that these life values, they are very important these days. So what we can do is we can have some workshops, or we can also call some lawyers for the same. And we can have some topics, we can have these topics to be discussed in the class, whether the class teacher or the counselor, school counselor, can discuss these topics. And we can also tell our students, they can sit, they can make a group and sit in the class, and they can discuss the problems faced by them and how they can solve these problems. So where they can discuss these real life problems, and they can find their solutions on their own, and even they can tell each other, because I think when we are dealing with our age mates, so we understand much better.
Thank you so much, Ramik. Ma'am, the first 3 minutes were over, but we'll try to come back to you during the open floor. Since it's a timed platform, people sometimes get muted, so don't worry. It's not to disrespect anyone. So you're very right that more opportunities for having conversations must be created in the school, so that legal awareness could be, mainstreamed, because it has been sidelined because of multiple reasons. So let's go back to the next speaker for today to add a little more flavor to the conversation. That to what extent a teenager should be aware about laws. To what extent can a school really engage them in these conversations? And what are schools really doing? This is something that would typically make the conversation more meaningful for everyone. So let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mr. Ritviz Gaur, the principal of Gyan Vihar School from Jaipur, Rajasthan. Ritviz sir, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself, and a very warm welcome.
Greetings to everyone. I'll just reiterate what has been till now said. Ignorance of law is not a bliss. But the fact remains that it's not that there is a very latent understanding of the law. Whatever is the school norm, let's say not steal, do not hit anyone, do not say bad about to your classmate and a peer. Outside, it is the law. Inside the gates of the school is a norm, and outside it is the law. The only difference which the adult world is essentially to make is to make the recognition that the norms inside and how and in what dimension, both in terms of understanding and the legal implication, the teenage under the due care of the school and the parenting must know. This is number one. The second is when I was pursuing my master in law, I was very stunned that most of the students who were doing the masters in the law were not equally aware of the basic tenet of the law. So it gives me an insight that law in terms of degrees and law in terms of actual understanding the legal scenario is two distinct things. And subsequently, post my studies in the law, I came to know that what laws in the book is different from law in the practice as well. So now these are also the perplexity factor for a common man as well as the teenagers, since teenagers are under the lens. But having said so, I beg to differ in one of the aspect partially with the present teenagers. Trust me, there are many other domains which the school or the parents do not teach them. But they are the global leaders today who has internet at their disposal. And the subject domain of their choices, they are more masters than any adult in this world. So nobody has really, mandated that they should not really go for the basic understandings about the law. But this is also an institutional responsibility. So first of all, I believe that the teachers must also be sensitized for the basic laws. They must be, then only in their daily lesson, whether it is a science, maths, or English, they will be able to correlate the laws with this. Presently, the students not only to be taught about their rights, their understandings about the legality, but they should also be know that every right comes with a reasonable restriction. Because when they go outside for any kind of events, or they use the digital world, they must also know that there are reasonable restrictions imposed, and then that will balance it out, anything and everything. Another challenge which as a school leader I face is most of these students go for Model United Nations, moot parliaments, moot courts as well. But the way the present global scenarios has witnessed in last 15 days, where the UNO existence is under the lens, are we really teaching them the right perspective and the right concepts to it? That is, again, we have to handle that the people who hold the institution does not decide the law. And that makes a point more clear that a teenager should know the law, understand the diversities, and come into the position, because power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And in this situation, if the present teenagers are well aware of the legal understanding, because exploitation only comes when there is a ignorance. If I'm not aware and conscious about my rights, definitely I'm bound to be, and I should be exploited. Last, what the schools can do. At Gyanware School, we have initiated certain, we have given a lot of empowerment to the student council who regulates the law. And to close down, they have also taken certain projects which directly the cigarettes around the school with the civil authorities, so that they are practicing the law. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ritesh sir. I think you brought in a very, refined, you articulated actually it in a very refined way, that the value education in a school is something that gets transformed into legal awareness in the real world. You're very right. We try to teach them this is the kind of behavior that the society expects you to do. And this is what will transform into, actual legislation when you get into the real world. But the challenge that really comes at this point is what you brought in as a question, that when we question the existence of an institution like the United Nations, the purpose of that institution was to stop the Third World War. That was the purpose why something called a League of Nations was born, that further transformed into the United Nations. And that very purpose got beaten up superbly badly by its own members. We have to understand that, are we really talking about teaching them the nuances of the different laws that govern them? Or we want to teach them how does the law really come into existence? Do we want to talk to them about legal precedents, or we want to talk to them about jurisprudence? What is it that we really want to teach them? Until and unless we are not able to, give them wisdom about legislation, to understand what might affect them in the right way, what might affect them in the wrong way, I think that would be the spirit of the law, which we all want them to understand, rather than the legislation or the law in itself. But thank you so much, sir, for bringing this in, because it's a very critical point. The values in a school, the norms in a school really get transformed into legislation in the society. Thank you so much, sir. Let me invite the next speaker for today. Let's now go back to a teenager. A very warm welcome to Miss Vaidehi Jeevan Jagtap, who's a grade 9 student from Sanskriti World School, Boisar, Maharashtra. Vaidehi, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself, and a very warm welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Good evening to all of you present over here. I am Vaidehi Jagtap of grade 9th of Sanskriti World School from Maharashtra. Today, I want to talk about something powerful knowledge. Not just any knowledge, but legal literacy. Understanding our rights and responsibilities as teenagers. We live in a world where teenagers are using social media, signing online terms and conditions, and even doing part-time jobs. But how many of us truly know the rights we have when we are stopped by police, or the responsibilities come with posting online? Sadly, not enough. And that's a problem. Legal literacy is not just only for the lawyers. It's a real life superpower for teens and young people. Knowing the laws gives us confidence, clarity, and courage. It empowers us to say, I know what is right. Legal literacy is not just about the laws, it's about our empowerment. So, what can schools do? A lot actually. Schools should teach students basic legal knowledge, not just only from the textbooks, but from the real life examples and discussion. Workshops with lawyers, mock tests, debates, and lessons on rights of our everyday life can make a huge difference. When the young people will understand their rights, they will become smarter, safer, and more responsible. And with this great power comes great responsibility. Imagine yourself being able to protect yourself online, knowing when to speak up, standing up for what's right. So let's make this legal literacy a superpower for. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Vaidehi. The first 3 minutes are over, and you're very right that let's make it a superpower. A teenager who understands the atmosphere and the environment that they're getting into, if they understand the law that will govern them, it will really make them a superman. It will really make them a superhero. They'll be able to manage themselves better and as well protect the society and people around them better. Thank you so much, Vaidehi. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mrs. Shruti S. Ohle, the principal of Maharshi Vidya Mandir, Bhandara, Maharashtra. Shruti, ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Thank you, Daksh. This is second time we are meeting. And good evening to everyone. I would start with being a resource person. I'm working for CBSE as a resource person for various topics. And no doubt, I think this is also the topic CBSE should have to start with, why legal literacy. And this is what I was thinking when I was hearing to others. And the answers were just unfolding the potential of my inquisitiveness. It was like actually why legal literacy and how legal literacy. I've been come across many people, like I've observed, like collector, even the SP, after completing their professional courses, even getting a high rank in their IS exam or their IPS exam. Then also I observed they did their law. Their degree is actually again one more degree. They are there with one more degree as law. Once I come across SP of Bandara district, I asked him, sir, SP of Bandara district, I asked him, sir, what made you to do law? He told Shruti ma'am, actually, when you are aware about the law, nobody can befool you. It is when instead of asking to others, it should be started from you. You need not have to ask to others like what can be the next step we have to do in this case. You are very much aware about the legal aspect of everything. So once being the individual one was actually even a doctor from profession too, so he told that we should know about it, otherwise we are like paralyzed, or we can say we are parasite. So legal literacy is not like to empower or to suppress the situation. It is in order to make yourself as to enjoy all bliss of life. When your ignorance itself makes the life as miserable, like when I work for the women's cell also in Bandara for Bandara district, I find many of the suffering in female or among the juvenile children, they come across many illegal act. It is out of their ignorance towards the law. They are not aware about various law, and then they happens to do those things. So if legal literacy is there, legal literacy is required as a like we can call it as a tool, not as a weapon. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Shruti, ma'am. the parallel that you have drawn, that legal literacy as a tool and not as a power, actually makes it a little less interesting for a teenager. Till the point we teach it to them like a weapon, they're superbly interested. At the point we tell them, this is just for your awareness, they get a little less excited about it. But yes, you're very right that there have to be more opportunities so that you can really enjoy your own life better. If you understand the boundaries in which you have to operate, it makes your life easier, your decision making better, and you're able to enjoy far more, blessings of your own life. So let's now go back to the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mrs. Vishakha Gupta, the principal of Beacon High School from Pune, Maharashtra. Vishakha ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself, and a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much, Daksh. It's a pleasure speaking on the platform. Speaking after so many people who've already spoken, I think makes the job difficult. But I'll try and put in my perspective to it. And I feel that legal literacy really helps students. And as Shruti ma'am was just mentioning, CBSE does have a module which is cyber safety and security. But then, end of the day, it is for teachers. Right, so teachers are definitely being made aware, but the problem is, what about children? More than we adults, it is the children who are online, who are on various platforms, who are handling so many other jobs, wherein their knowledge of their safety and security is very important. So now, first thing is very important that the children need to be, they need to trust us. When as adults we tell them that this is right and this is wrong, if we give them the legal knowledge of it, they would know what we are telling them, what we are instructing them is actually what the law also says. Right? So the trust would be built because they trust their friends more. We believe it or we don't. They would go and check back with their friends rather than check back with the teacher or the parent, especially young teenagers. So it is very important that this trust is built, and this will come with legal knowledge and awareness. Also, like in my school, we have case studies. We make them sit in groups. My children develop case studies. Maybe they do not share if they've really gone through it. It may be a situation they've heard of, read of, seen, or maybe have gone through. They develop a case study on it, and this case study is given to another group to solve. So what happens here is the correct solutions or a suggested solution in an environment that is moderated by a facilitator. It happens in that environment, the school counselor takes care of it. So the right person there to moderate this and to tell the children, how it should be. Now, this is very important because, as you very rightly said, ignorance of the law is not a bliss. But knowing the law also does not give them the right to know, अच्छा, इतना तो गलती कर सकते हैं, इतनी नहीं कर सकते. Right. So as one of the child here who spoke also mentioned, what Spider-Man said, with great power comes great responsibility. I would like to add, knowledge without wisdom is like a ship without a rudder. So even if we give them the knowledge, we need to tell them that, okay, this knowledge, you have to apply it in this way. So I know you can, it is not right to scare somebody with a dagger, and you cannot kill, but you can scare someone. You can threaten someone, right? So they know that we'll not be, prosecuted under 320 if I threaten someone. But yes, I can be killed. But I can, be prosecuted if I kill someone. So again, they have to understand, they have to be wise before they fall into a trap, because online there are a lot of concerns that are happening, and it is not adults, but these teenagers who are getting trapped into it. Right. So then this knowledge, yes, I agree with the other speakers, is important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vishakha ma'am. It's really important to give them the understanding of what can really negatively affect them, giving them wisdom of the legal framework that they are going to reside in. They have to understand what the society expects. There's a very nice story about this in Indian mythology, that there used to be a saint who used to walk by a path, and there was a snake that always used to, make that hissing sound. कि उस संत के रास्ते पे रोज उसे एक सांप मिलता था, तो रोज फुफकारता था. संत ने कहा, यार ये क्या करते रहते हो, ये रोज हर बार आवाज करके सब पाते जाते वाले लोगों को डरा रहे होते हो, परेशान कर रहे होते हो. उसने कहा, चलो ठीक है, मैं आपसे सीख जाता हूँ. उसने फुफकारना बंद कर दिया. 10-5 दिन बाद वहां से वो संत वापस से गुजरा, तो उसने देखा वही सांप एकदम, मतलब इंजर्ड सा, परेशान सा पड़ा हुआ है. संत ने पूछा, क्या हो गया? तो उसने कहा, आप ही ने कहा था कि फुफकारना छोड़ दो। संत ने कहा, मैंने कहा डसना छोड़ दो, फुफकारते तो रहो। So you have to understand what protects you, the right of self-defense. What Deepu sir also talked about in the initiation of the conversation, you have to understand what are the powers or the rights that law gives to you as an individual, and also understand what it takes away from you when you go beyond the line of the law. Thank you so much, Vishakha ma'am, for this contribution. Let's now go back to Ansh because he was not able to speak because of some technical issue. No worries. So, a very warm welcome to Mr. Ansh Gulati, who's a grade 11 student from Sun City School 37D, Gurugram, Haryana. Ansh, over to you, and a very warm welcome.
Hi everybody, sorry for the power cut. Good evening. Here's the truth. We're told to follow rules, but most of us don't even know what they are. We're expected to act responsibly, but no one teaches us what our rights actually are. Not in school, not even at home. And by the time we find out, it's usually because something has gone wrong or it's too late. Think about it. We learn trigonometry, not how to spot a scam. We know ancient history and who ruled in 1592, but not how to report a cybercrime. We can recite the preamble, but if someone crosses the line, online or worse in real life, we're stuck, confused, resorting to Google, searching, what do I do now? That's not on us, that's on the system. Legal literacy doesn't mean turning every teenager into a lawyer. It's about knowing the bare minimum basics, what consent actually means, what your school or employer can or can't do, what your rights are if you're being bullied, discriminated against, or unfairly accused. So we're old enough to be at 16 to be tried as adults under the Juvenile Justice Act, but not old enough to understand the laws that can put us in jail. That's not protection. That's called, oh wait, what word? Oh yeah, neglect. And let's be clear, legal literacy doesn't create rebels, it creates boundaries. Knowing your rights actually leads to more respectful, not reckless conversations. It replaces your fear with clarity. Because when something does go wrong, and let's be honest, in today's busy world, it can, you can't stand up for yourself if you don't know what you're standing on. Schools always say, we're preparing you for the real world. Cool, but the real world doesn't just run on grades, it runs on rights as well. And if we're not teaching that, then we're not educating. We're just sending students out into the world half prepared. Because ignorance of the law isn't an excuse, but pretending it's not needed in school, that's the real crime. Ending with what Nelson Mandela once famously said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And let's make sure that education includes our rights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ansh. You're very right. You don't teach them about their rights. We don't teach them about things that will affect them just when they go out of their own schools. Because when they go into their college life, they get into a completely new atmosphere with a lot of freedom, with a lot of independence. And that is when most of the mistakes happen. A lot of universities, a lot of colleges face this when the management has to get involved just to take care of the students. Because nobody really told them how to take care of yourself when you go into a society that wants you to function in a certain way, but does not tell you how you need to function. So we have listened to all the speakers that we had today. We saw the kind of dissatisfaction that a teenager has about the topic, the kind of effort a school leader really wants to take to, educate these teens. When a university leader looks at the same scenario, the kind of resource that they want to put in. But the missing thing in all of this is this conversation. This conversation is not reaching every single place. This is what we're trying to do at the Teen Parliament as well, that whatever we do, let at least quality conversations start. So since the beginning of the web talk, if you were muted, if you wanted to add something to the conversation, if you have a new thought that you want to put in right now, we have next 2 to 3 minutes as an open floor. If you want to speak up for a minute or two, just raise your hand and I'll invite you next. Otherwise, we'll be moving towards closing this session. It's very important for everyone who's there on the call to understand the kind of topics that we take at Blub World, at the World Teen Parliament, feel a lot uncomfortable to a lot of people. But we know that these uncomfortable conversations won't find space in the school ecosystem, won't find space in the family ecosystem. And we want to create spaces where teens could really have conversations on this. If you think it is meaningful, if you think you enjoyed the session, and if you want to be a part of the future sessions, open your audio, say a big yes, and thank you so much everyone for being a part of the Blub World Web Talks. This was the 261st episode of the Blub World Web Talks. Namaste. Have an amazing evening ahead. Goodbye.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And happy weekend.
Thank you, sir. It was a very wonderful to have an initiative to talk to the students, talk to them, and let them understand what they do each now. Being in the classrooms,
Absolutely.
as I said, the communication and implementation is very necessary. So best of luck,
Absolutely.
students. Proceed ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Daksh,
so
I
much.
would just like to add one last statement. If you could create a platform, a way, a link, anything, so that this reaches the government, that this is
We
required.
we actually have that. That's
Yeah,
the
so
very
we would like
platform.
to,
Yeah,
yeah, because NEP has so many things that were missing and have been brought back. So if this could be one of that, why not? And maybe your
absolutely.
platform could be that one source.
Absolutely, ma'am. And just for, we'll share more information. For that very purpose, we are creating the World Teen Parliament. We are the only platform where every month teenagers get to talk to sitting members of parliament from all over the world. They get to talk about all of these issues. Our team will share the details if you do have a look at it. And for having more meaningful conversations, we have a platform called the World Teen Parliament Voting Debates, which we do continuously across 35 nations. Our team will share the details to have a look at. And most importantly, they are all absolutely free. It's a non-profit initiative of the Blub World Foundation. We don't charge anyone anything for being a part of these conversations. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope it was a memorable conversation for all of you. Thank you. Namaste. Goodbye.